Hello everyone, we are back again for another video. And yes, I am wearing the same Halloween Horror Night shirt that I was wearing when I first made my first video a couple days ago. And that's because, well, it's a nice shirt to hang out in. And I went to the gym and I just used the same shirt again. And well, we're here. So it is what it is. Anyway, today I want to talk about something that I have been thinking about. And I had a nice, I wouldn't really say it was a debate, but a nice conversation with a colleague at Citrix. And it's essentially about manager versus employee, sort of individual contributor against employee, how to grow your career, just some thoughts that I'm having and some things that I wanted to share. By the way, the amount of people that have watched my first video, I mean, 200 or above 200 views for me is still something that I get very excited about because I'm still a new YouTuber. And it looks like that's something that the audience reacted very positively to. So I'm probably going to continue making these sort of vlogs, just speaking my mind about my own journey and engineering in general. Because although I don't feel like software engineering is the right career for me anymore, it doesn't mean that I don't want to leave, or rather, it doesn't mean that I want to leave engineering completely. I know I mentioned sales before, but some new things have come up that might keep me in the engineering bubble. So the way that I want to drive this conversation is like this. So my colleague and I were talking about, how do you grow your career as an individual contributor? Is it up to you to grow your career, or is it up to your manager to guide you and present good opportunities for you to grow your career? So I just want to give you a little bit of insight into that and explain to you sort of how I started in my own career, how I grew into being a senior engineer at Citrix, and hopefully that can give you all some insight into your own careers, and of course, open a discussion with the rest of the community to see how everyone else is doing. So I'll go ahead and get started. So I started my career 5 years ago, and I remember my first manager, who in hindsight, I think was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. My first manager was very technically oriented. And I mean that he gave very great advice on how to grow your career technically, and he was also very tough on his team. And I think that was good because it allowed for me to develop tough skin. I think I grew up in a little bit of a sheltered family, so I didn't really get that tough skin going into my first career. So my first manager helped me a lot in that regard. And it's something that I really, really appreciate that he did for me. He definitely pushed me to think outside the box, push me to continue working and just get things done. And for that, I'm very grateful. And I think through all that, again, it just really made me want to work hard. It really developed the foundation for everything that came after that. It developed my work ethic. It developed my grit to get through things. So I think that's one manager that you might come across in your life. The manager I had after that, he was very people oriented. And actually, he was the first one who very quickly identified that I might be good as a manager, because I thought that this person was very outgoing, very people oriented, very in touch with his team, always liked to do one-on-ones and ask how everyone was doing and so on and so forth. So, compare and contrast both. You have one manager that's very technically inclined, and then you have another manager that's more people inclined. So I had a very nice mixture of both of these different managers, and both of them taught me very important things. And I think through that, being exposed to each one of these different managers, I was able to sort of guide myself. And let me explain to you now how, I was able to find projects and how each of these managers helped me guide my career to where I am today, essentially. So my first manager, the technical one, he, again, would always push me, and he would always put me on things that were probably right at the cusp of my knowledge. Like, it was just, it was hard enough that it would challenge me, but not so hard that I would go crazy. And I think that's sort of my first point right there. I think earlier on in your career, especially with software engineering, we're so into wanting to, impress others and really show them that we have what it takes. So I would say it's very important to try and position yourself in a way that you can always be doing the projects that are critical, the projects that are just a little bit out of your league, and you definitely want to get out of your comfort zone. So it's important to also identify people that are doing those projects currently and befriend them. One of the best things I did was I always identified the strongest performers on my team and I essentially cloned them and I just copied them. I did what they did. I tried to write code like they did. I tried to make PR comments like they did. I tried to interact with others like they did. And I essentially made myself a clone of theirs. And I saw great success from doing that. So find yourself a mentor, identify the strongest performers, and do what they're doing. That will very quickly put you in the right spot to succeed. And hopefully through that, you'll start fine-tuning yourself. Early on in your career, you do want to focus on those technical aspects of your job. You want to learn the syntax of your language very well. You want to be able to push the technical boundaries of whatever project you're working on. And then after some time, probably I'd say around the 2-3 year mark, you're going to start building some expertise on your product, some expertise on your team. And at this point is probably the beginning of when I think you should start focusing on people skills, because the more senior that you become on your team, let's say you go to a senior role and then a staff role or a principal role, so on and so forth, you will naturally begin to talk to more people because you're such an expert. People will come and seek your help. They will ask you to design things. They will ask you to write documentation. They will ask you to present things, so on and so forth. So at this point in your career, you want to find the people that are, doing this sort of thing. Maybe the architects on your team, the principal engineers on your team. Befriend them, see what they're doing, ask them for help, and continue on that path. That's essentially what I did. Now, that 2nd to 3rd year mark just coincided with the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, I'm 5 years now at Citrix, and the last 2 years have been all pandemic. I've been working from home this entire time. So it was a lot of hard to do this remotely, but you can still make yourself known and develop a presence by just being out there. I mean, be part of outage calls, for example. Even if you're not on the team that's affected, ask to join the team, or rather ask to join the outage. Ask to join different meetings, see what's out there, pursue it. And I think through that, you'll eventually end up probably somewhere where I am now, my 5-year point, where now I'm really, I think the next big decision for me is, do I continue going engineering route or engineering manager? And as you all may know, or as you all probably know already based on my other video, I'm definitely trending toward the engineering manager role. And I actually, sort of an update on that engineering manager, I spoke to what we call a distinguished engineer today at Citrix, and I was explaining to them how I have, some ideas of where I'd like to drive the team and some things I'd like to do to position myself and have influence, so that way I can sort of develop the sort of team that I would like to see. So this is one of those areas where I was just telling you, I'm seeking an opportunity. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a manager without officially being one. So you want to try and fill the shoes of whatever level you're trying to get to, even if you're not given that title. I think that's the way that you continue to grow and you push yourself and you finally get to where you want to be. And it all comes down to the reason I made this video. So do managers guide individual contributors, or do individual contributors seek their next step, their next career growth points? And to that I say, you need to find a good manager. A good manager should be able to guide you. A good manager should be able to encourage you. The job of a manager is to make their team feel empowered to make the right decisions, should feel empowered to challenge themselves, should be empowered to take risks. I think that's the job of a good manager. I don't always think that a manager will hand you everything. I just think they need to encourage you to go seek that. And I think the job of an individual contributor, an engineer, is to seek those opportunities. There's going to be a baseline level of competition, especially in big tech companies. People that get into tech companies are all smart people that are generally overachievers, people that are naturally competitive. So you need to stick out and you need to have some sort of drive to be able to pursue whatever it is you want to get to next. So that's sort of my thoughts on that whole thing. It needs to be a 50-50, or as some people say, 100%, 100% of the manager, again, treating his team, in such a way that they're empowering their team, giving them ample guidance, but then also an individual contributor's job to go and seek said opportunities and really go for it. That's probably the best advice that I can give people. If I were to go back earlier in my career and start over, I think the first 2 years I had a lot of rapid growth, but of course, like I said, the pandemic did slow things down. But now being in the office, I've only been in the office for 3 weeks, and I already now I feel that sense of urgency again. I feel that sense of excitement because you're seeing people, even though it's not a lot of people. We don't have a lot of people in our office at this moment, but it's enough to get the juices flowing again and just go from there. So for the people that are watching, that's the advice I have for you. If you want to get to the next level, push yourself, fill in the role and take on the responsibilities at the next level without even having that title. For example, the difference between a junior engineer and a senior engineer might be writing more documentation, talking to more people across teams. So if there's any way that, if you're seeing another senior engineer already doing that, just ask them, say, hey, is there any way that I can be part of that meeting? Can you describe to me how you write this documentation, or what sort of things do you think about when you're, sketching up a design? Just ask questions and put yourself out there. That's honestly the best way to advance yourself, especially if it's something that you want to do. I understand there's also some amount of people that just want to be where they're at and sort of let time dictate their promotions and sort of career growth. But if you want to take a more proactive look into your career, then these are the things that I would recommend to you all. So I'm very excited on next steps. One of the really cool things that I'm going to be able to do soon is this distinguished engineer essentially told me, I mentioned to him, hey, we used to have these monthly town hall meetings before the pandemic. I thought it was a great way to build team morale and just get to know what was happening on the team. We used to do like developer demos. We used to talk about outages that we had and how we solved them and a ton of other stuff. We stopped doing that, of course, during the pandemic, but now that we're back, we should bring it back. And he mentioned to me, he said, if you want, you can go ahead and drive the next one. So he's allowing me the opportunity to drive this next town hall completely and essentially host it. And that's like what I was saying. I went to him, I saw an opportunity, and I put myself now in that position. So now I'm getting that visibility. And that's exactly what you should be doing if you want to take a more proactive look into your own career. So I hope this helps a lot of you. I know software engineering it's very difficult. It's very competitive in nature. Everyone that gets into it is smart, very smart, and people are naturally competitive. So I hope this at least brings some solace to everyone out there that's maybe a little bit stressed out by all this. And I hope to continue having these conversations. Very grateful for everyone that has commented on my previous video. I see that, again, the audience reacted very positively to that. So I'll continue making these sort of vlogs if you all like them, and leave comments on this one. I'm more than happy to discuss anything with you all and continue offering what insight I can in the comments. So again, thank you all so much. Hope you're all having a great Friday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next time. Peace.